All right. Well, good morning and welcome to the April 14th, 2022 meeting of the New York City Campaign Finance Board. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from our March 10 meeting. I move the approval of the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. The next item on the agenda is my report. So I want to start by addressing recent media coverage about the 2021 campaign for controller by Lieutenant Governor Brian Benjamin. In December 2020, the news outlet The City published a story detailing alleged straw donations to the campaign, and a contributor was subsequently indicted by federal prosecutors in November of last year. Recent reports about this ongoing matter have indicated that the straw donations were an attempt to increase matching funds payments. We wish to make clear that CFB's review process had identified the contributions identified in the news reports as suspicious. As a result, none of those contributions were matched with public funds, nor did they factor into the campaign qualifying for payment. The CFB's audit process is rigorous. While some question whether the process is too strict, it is worth remembering that the CFB's rules are in place to protect taxpayer dollars precisely in cases like this one. Now back to the business for today's meeting. The board is scheduled to vote on violations and penalties for independent spenders from last year's citywide elections. With one exception, the parties listed on the agenda have declined to appear. The matter pertaining to the party that is appearing, which is the Committee for Sensible Government, we will go forward with that matter today. But with respect to the other four independent spenders, I'll list them in a minute. Members of the board have raised questions concerning the calculation of the penalties. And so we're going to go back and ask the staff to look at this more carefully. And so we will not vote on those penalties today, but rather we will in due course renotice them for a hearing and give proper notice to the parties involved. Those four independent spenders are $11.99 for Maya, Amplify Her, NYSNA PAC, and WFP National PAC. As I said, those will be reanalyzed and noticed for a later time. With that, I'm finished with my report, and let me just go back. I'm pleased to say that we are joined today by our Voter Assistance Advisory Committee Chair, Zoilo Torres, for an update on the voter engagement work of the agency. Zoilo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Schaefer. The VAC, the Voters Advisory Assistance Committee, will be meeting on April 27th at 5:30. And we'll be discussing the voter analysis report, and we'll be looking back at the 2021 elections, which include the turnout, how voters use the ranked choice voting, the early voting, reviews, the work of the New York City Votes, and the legislative and policy recommendations. The report will be released at the end of April in a few weeks. The legislative and policy recommendations will be included. The meeting is open to the public, will be live streamed on Zoom. And those willing or wanting to participate can log on to the NYC the NYC Votes.org. We will also be discussing the special elections that are coming up, specifically Assembly District 58. Will be held on May 27th. And basically because of the Assembly member Nick Perry has been reassigned or named to the ambassadorship to Jamaica. We will also be reviewing the New York City Votes.org for voter guide. Also, we'll be discussing the primary and redistricting that has been in the news lately. The court decision called a new district in question. The stay at the appeals court means at this time, the primary will still be held in June. So watch for New York City Votes for updates and the voter guide. That concludes my report. So I move on to the agenda.
Thank you very much. Next, we have the report from our executive director, Amy.
Thank you very much. I just a quick, just a misstatement by Chair Torres, and just a minor that the primary in the Assembly District for Nick Perry C will be held on May 24th, which is the Tuesday, just in case. So last week, the board submitted its budget to the mayor and the speaker of the city council for fiscal year 2023, which will begin on July 1st. The requested budget includes funding for a citywide voter guide this fall and for the June 2023 primary voter guide, which will include expanded language mandates into 12. The voter guide will now be translated into 12 different languages. It also includes monies for the education on the city's new city-only voting program that starts next year, and public funds for the 2023 city council elections, early payments and primary payments. And it also includes a request for new staffing to support these new mandates and the work of the staff. The initial document requests to start the 2021 post-election audit process have been sent, so we are in 2021 audit mode. And we, just so you know, we have moved our award-winning website for voter information from voting.nyc to nycvotes.org. And that is all I have.
Thank you very much. So we have a scheduled appearance by a representative of the Independent Spender Committee for Sensible Government. Is somebody from that organization with us on the call today?
Yes, Ms. Gleiboff, you can speak now.
Hi, good morning. I appreciate the opportunity to meet with everyone. I understand. Originally, when I received the notice, I was not going to respond, but the committee felt that I should come and respond and just let you know that what our position basically was, which was the response that I did send in, which was I took on the responsibility of treasurer, believing that I could do the job and learn the job. I had not had any experience prior to this, which is not an excuse. And I worked with Kyle Kennedy on the trying to learn as best as I could the technology part of it. And I felt that I could handle it. And the challenge to me in being very new at this was chasing after the materials from other people who were in control of the materials. That's not to say that I wasn't responsible and it was my obligation to get it, but I did the absolute best that I could under the circumstances that I was working under. And now that I understand how serious the fines and penalties can be, I've let the committee know, and I've let everyone that I've spoken with at CFB, that I've spoken with know that if I don't get the cooperation that's required in order to submit timely, then I would need to resign because I'm not being effective. So that being said, I do take responsibility. I'm not saying that it didn't happen. And so the only questions that it's left is basically one, if there's any leniency that could be afforded for the amounts that's due. It's well over 8,000. And if not, then that's acceptable as long as we could set up a payment schedule. And that's really all I came to say.
All right. Amy, is there someone from our staff who wishes to be heard on this matter?
I believe that Jason Yee is the attorney on this. Jason, do you have anything to add? Or, framing the issues of what the board is considering today?
Yes, would you like me to proceed with the standard introduction?
Yeah, why don't
Sure,
you just
go ahead. Go ahead.
Sure. Good morning. My name is Jason Yee, Senior Associate Counsel for the CFB. Before the board is the matter of the Committee for Sensible Government, an independent spender in the 2021 election cycle. CFB staff recommends that the board find that the committee committed violations of the Campaign Finance Act and board rules as follows, and assess penalties according to the penalty guidelines. Failing to file, failing to provide a copy of an invoice or other documentation, and failing to provide an accurate copy of a communication. The committee does not contest these recommended penalties.
Except
Or-
as previously articulated.
Yes, so I will note that in the initial response, the committee did not contest the recommended penalties, but they did ask for a reduction of the penalties as a matter of equity. I will also add, and I think this is probably all staff has to comment on the matter, that I am to understand that Ms. Gliboff personally was very cooperative in all compliance matters and was very communicative throughout the process.
Thank you. I have a question for Ms. Gliboff, and I don't want to be misunderstood. My question relates to something that may not be relevant at all. And in any event, I don't want to indicate that we will take this into account, but I can't resist asking whether this organization currently has a bank account, and if so, whether there's any balance in it.
Yes, it does have a bank account, and the balance is around $2,000.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Yee, I want to make sure I understand the difference between violations 2 and 3, the way they're described in the memo. One is failing to provide a copy of an invoice, and then is 3 is failing to provide an accurate copy. But when I read it, it looks like nothing was submitted. So I just want to make sure I understand the difference.
I'm still chasing documentation. I'm sorry.
I was
The
asking
question is from-
Mr. Yee. I was asking Mr. Yee
Oh.
what the difference is between 2 and 3.
Right. So the board member Davis, violation 2 is simply about the expenditure documentation itself. So invoices, underlying checks, that sort of thing. Violation number 3 is about the actual communication itself. So we would be talking about literature, a robocalls, a transcript, that sort of thing.
So it's not, I guess I was just confused by the word accurate. It's just, it isn't that something that was submitted was inaccurate. It's just that nothing was submitted.
Yes, in this instance, I can't speak to the general phrasing of that penalty. That's simply, as far as I'm aware, the title of the penalty as inherited. Perhaps it was previously used in a different way, but here in this instance, we're just talking about a failure to provide a copy of the communication.
That was my confusion. Thank you.
Okay, but so 2 and 3 refer obviously to the same expenditure. One has to do with the invoice or similar documentation. The other has to do with the underlying communication. Is that right?
Got it.
And just to be clear, I think there are 7 individual communications that there were documentation required for.
That's correct. So number 2 is regarding 14 expenditures that are missing underlying documentation, and number 3 is about 7 expenditures for which we don't have the underlying communication. So these are overlapping, but not exactly identical.
Got it.
And both of these are situations where we never got the underlying documentation, required documentation, even late. We just didn't get it at all.
That's correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Are there any other questions from members of the board? Ms. Gleboff, is there any further you'd like to say?
No, basically the issue is internal communication issues between myself and the committee, the people who are putting it in place. As Mr. Yee is aware, Mr. Kennedy, who works with him, informed me that there was a website before I knew there was a website. So it's still about me chasing down information. And as I said, if I can't do the job the way it's supposed to be done, then I shouldn't be doing the job. Or they should find someone closer to their proximity that's going to have instant access to knowing what they're spending and doing. And I shouldn't be getting it late, and I shouldn't be delivering it to you late. So that's all.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your appearance, and we will now go into deliberations, and we'll report back in a little while on the results of our deliberations. So we'll sign off for now and be back shortly. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I believe we're ready.
Greg, oh, Greg is here. Okay. Okay, very good. So the board has deliberated, and I will propose the following motion that the board proposes to find the following violations and impose the following penalties on the Committee for Sensible Government. One, failing to file, $3,900. Two, failing to provide a copy of an invoice or other documentation, $1,690. Three, failing to provide an accurate copy of a communication, $2,750, for total penalties of $8,340. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstention, motion carries. That completes our business for today. So I will move that we go into executive session, and since we have no action to report back on, we will adjourn directly from the executive session. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Thank you all very much. We're finished for today.